Good early morning, everybody. It's July 18, 2024. And this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. And yes, it is ridiculously early in the morning. I have not gone to sleep yet because I went into the cats building a little bit later than I usually do. Fed them, cleaned up a little bit, scooped the litter boxes and stuff. And by the time I did that and went back to my front porch, some loser, some psychopath was on my porch and dumped all these little tiny worms everywhere. So I took out the garden hose and I had to spray them down. By the time I took a shower, I'm right here now. It's like 3:30 in the morning. Yes, so that's what the criminals do here. And they always do it towards my birthday, which is in a couple of days. Yeah, I can't believe how fast time is going. But yes, they always plan something wonderful on or right the day before my birthday. So anyway, I'd like to read something written by a targeted person, Max Harrison Williams, April 2021. Now this is 68 pages long. It's a PDF. If anybody would like a copy of the PDF, you can email me at alternativehomesteading@gmail.com and I can attach it for you. Just say that you want this 68-page document. So anyway, this is Auditory Targets, a study of synthetic telepathy, or V2K, an aspect of remote electronic targeting. So he starts off by writing an executive summary. Many people claim that they hear voices that are not theirs and that they're the only ones who can hear them. Those voices are sometimes called synthetic telepathy, subliminal voices, and other names, but they are generally referred to as V2K or voice to skull. The voices are transmitted to those persons from afar or by remote, which means that the person or group sending the unwanted voices are unseen, and the devices methods that they use are unseen and largely unknown. They also do this, they generate these voices through your cameras. You can hear them. In fact, somebody new to my channel was listening to a video recently, one of my lives. I haven't done a live in a long time, and I need to. But she was listening to one of my lives, and she said that she can hear the robotic voices in the background. I'm going to have to go listen to that. So yeah, so a lot of times you really astute people out there can hear things on my audio that maybe others can't hear. So he goes on to say that this is a fourth of a series of studies made of the voices. The purpose of this study is to examine the content of those voices to learn more about the tactics that the attackers use in their verbal assault. The study does not attempt to identify the attackers or the weapons that they use. Instead, it only analyzes what the attackers say and how they say it. This study attempts to broaden the knowledge of the reader concerning the phenomenon of the voices, and at the same time dispel some of the beliefs that many doubters hold about those voices. Now he claims, and I've actually read 2 other articles written by Max Williams, and they are on my channel. One is called Our Possible Audiences, and the other is on 2 different kinds of V2K. So he says there are 2 different kinds of voices. Targets can actually receive 2 types of remote generated voices. 1, audible voices, or those readily heard in the target's heads or brains, which is called V2K. Or 2, the inaudible or silent voices, those projected at a very high signal and thus cannot be picked up by the target's conscious. Instead, they are heard by a target's subconscious. So that could be very high-pitched tinnitus. The latter is far more dangerous in that the victim is not aware of those voices, and often tell him what to think, say, or do, and what not to think, say, or do. Questions answered by participants in the study cover both types of voices. So what he did is he had some test subjects, or I should say people who participated in the study. I'm not going to read all of that because it's 68 pages long. I'm only going to read the first few pages. Targeting. The voices are only one aspect of remote delivered physical and neurological assault. Thus, to understand the voices, one must also understand the concept of remote generated targeting. If some person, organization, or group dislikes someone, if they wish to do them harm to that person, or seek to profit somehow from that person, and if they have the means to do so, that person becomes redlined or targeted. The attack process is called targeting, the end result of which is expected to be neutralization of the targets. Oh, my rooster is crowing. Neutralization can mean modifying their thought process and their behavior, totally isolating the targets, sending them to a mental institution or prison, or causing their eventual deaths. We refer to the people behind the targeting as the attackers or perpetrators, and the victims of the attacks as targets, targeted individuals, or simply TIs. The result of electronic targeting can be seen as torture. Many targets believe that the targeting is a spin-off of neurological warfare experiments conducted by the military and the intelligence agencies of the United States and other countries. While the genesis of electronic targeting may have come from one single source over the years, the method and the devices used to carry out the targeting have doubtlessly fallen into various other hands. An increasing number of people all over the world, and particularly in developed countries, report that they're being attacked by unidentified remote sources using unknown devices or methods to produce many harmful physical and neurological effects. Previous studies show that the number of targets has increased significantly since the early 2000s. Thus, targeting appears to be proliferating. The study concerns only targets in the United States, Canada, and the UK. Critics of people who claim to be targeted often suggest that the targets are instead victims of mass hysteria. However, they fail to describe an event that could lead targets to mass hysteria that would not also affect the entire American population. Moreover, several thousand targets living in diverse locations who complain of many of the same remote delivered results are not likely to be victims of mass hysteria. In fact, our experience shows that targets have already been suffering from those effects before they begin researching and communicating with other targets on the web. Targeting takes several forms. One form employs yet highly classified devices that can focus and fix upon a person to pound him by remote with many physical effects. Number 2, another form of targeting consists of using similar devices to focus and fix upon a person to achieve a myriad of neurological, psychological effects, also by remote. And 3, probably more targets receive both the physical and the neurological effects. 4, still another form concentrates on harassing the target on site in various manners, using organized stalkers against him, vandalizing his property, making surreptitious entries into his domicile, tampering with his postal mail, his computer, and telephone, stewing rumors about him in the neighborhood and workplace, and employing other forms of harassment. That form is also referred to as gang stalking, organized stalking, or overt harassment. They call it OH, overt harassment. The study concerns only the first 3 forms. Those forms operate by remote methods, which means that the attackers are not seen and the attacker's device or devices do not touch the body. The first two forms function in tandem with each other. The remote distance can only be meters away from the target or hundreds, perhaps thousands of miles away. The farthest range has not yet been determined by targets. The fourth form of targeting is performed on the ground, in and near the target and the target's surroundings. You know, sort of like somebody pouncing onto my porch to dump a bunch of worms when I'm in another building. The voices are used only in the second and third forms of targeting. The study touches upon the first three forms of targeting, but focuses on the voices found in the neurological torture. The next heading is reasons for electronic targeting. The victim's statements about their targeting and its effects suggest that there are several reasons that persons are targeted. Number one, experimentation. Studies suggest that the physical and neurological capabilities of the attack weapons, whatever that may be, are already well proven. However, those capabilities remain to be tested on the many characteristics of human targets. Imagine the diversity of the population. How do people who represent that diversity react to the many facets of V2K assault? For example, how does a particular feature of V2K attacks affect a person of Asian descent versus a person of Caucasian descent? How does a person who did not finish high school respond to a particular feature of V2K attacks as opposed to a person with a PhD? All of those variations are extremely important in the application of V2K for neurological warfare, behavior and thought modification, population control, and other purposes. The attackers appear to be still engaged in proving those capabilities based upon race, ethnicity, gender, medical conditions, religious beliefs, geographical locations, schools of thought, physical, educational level, IQ, perhaps DNA, sexual orientation, mental states, family makeup, occupation and profession, and other human characteristics. Research on the brain is still ongoing. There are thousands of nerves and nerve clusters whose functions have not yet been identified. In research conducted on the brain and the nervous system for purposes of neurological warfare, every finding must be tested on a multiplicity of population to determine how it affects every element of that population. Number two, punishment, vengeance, reprisals. Governments, large corporations, religious institutions, political pacts, and other persons and groups have perceived enemies. If any of those entities had their means, they probably would not hesitate to target certain individuals whom they view as enemies. Number three, a quest for financial and other gains. This is only rarely the reason for targeting, yet there are targets who present credible evidence that various individuals or institutions have targeted them or their relatives to rob them of money or other assets. Oh, it's absolutely asset stripping. Absolutely. Number four, sowing discord. Mounting circumstantial evidence tends to show that today certain countries are engaged in targeting to sway the opinions of the leadership in other countries and to sow suspicion of the governments and discord among their citizens. Countries with that capability include the US, the UK, Israel, Russia, China, and perhaps India and others. Number five, assessment. Many targets believe that they are objects of virtual reality shows seen by viewers over the dark web. Although there's no proof of this, some of the tactics of the attackers could be interpreted as being designed for remote viewing by voyeurs. The capabilities of the attackers. Physical targeting effects. Although the study concerns the voices, in addition, the attackers' devices can cause an extraordinary variety of physical effects, some of them only annoying and others life-threatening. As already mentioned, many of the effects are also natural occurring symptoms experienced by many people. Thus, the claims made by targets cannot be proven. That's what they claim. Here are some of the physical effects that the remote attackers are able to cause. And this list is not exhaustive. Other targets can doubtlessly suggest additions to this list. So here we go. Sensation of pinpricks in the eyes, shoulders, face, feet, elbows, and other areas. I get a check mark on that. Intense pressure on the bridge of the nose, the constant pressure intended to lay the groundwork for inducing anxiety. Restless legs, a sensation that begins in the small of the back and extends to the extremities, causing the restless legs syndrome. Sometimes when that happens, the legs will jerk involuntarily. Intense pressure, oh wait, we did that already. Hunger pains in the stomach, even when the target should not be hungry. Electrical-like jolts. These affect the entire body and feel much like the shock that one gets from touching a low-voltage electrical base. And again, I don't have that. Tremors, vibrations. These can affect the whole body or be focused on specific parts of the body. They can range from very mild to violent. Zapping in on the head. These sound much like sparks from a welder's torch or like children's sparklers used as fireworks on the holidays. A heaviness in the chest that makes one feel always tired. Clicking in the ears, severe cramping, mainly in the calves of the legs. Numbness in the limbs from the base of the spine column to the toes. Unnatural coughing and sneezing. Extreme gastric problems leading to irritation of the stomach lining and infections in the esophagus and the duodenum. Stomach aches and pains, indigestion, nausea and dizziness, gas on the stomach and in the intestines, lethargy and listlessness. I suspect that many people suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome, which is CFS, are actually victims of remote torture. CFS was not defined until 1980s. Well, and me too. Lethargy, listless, tinnitus. Almost every target who receives the voices also suffers from tinnitus. Inability to urinate or frequent urination, chronic constipation, sleep deprivation, simulated heart attacks, the sensation of crawling insects on the face and neck, intense itching. This can be any place on the body. The attackers often will make it seem like a mosquito bite or a fire or ant bite. The itching is normally on the hands or the feet. Twitching of the fingers. The attackers not only want to annoy you, but to also convince you that you are developing Parkinson's disease. The partial loss of sight, destabilizing of hand-eye coordination, causing targets to strike their hands against objects, misstep, bump into objects, stumble, and misjudge their distances. Let's see what's left here. Inability to open one eye or other in the morning. Twitching eyelids, throbbing in the head, aches and pains in various parts of the body. The attackers can also cause arthritic type pain in the hands, pains in the lower back, and extreme pain in the legs by striking the sciatic nerve. Unnaturally salivating. Conversely, having a dry mouth, tingling vibrations focused in areas of the face, often causing basal cell cancer. Involuntary physical movements. Targets have suffered serious falls when the devices cause their knees to buckle. The attacker's device can also cause the arms and legs to flail and jerk involuntarily. Heart flutters or irregular palpitations, extreme sensitivity to light. pressure on the bladder, causing the victim to want to urinate very often, and conversely, the attacker can prevent the target from urinating. Unexplained sores in various areas, high and sudden temperature rises in the body, stopped up hearing canals, pressure causing numbness on the bridge of the nose, kidneys, and the prostate, intense itching on the scalp. This is sometimes preceded or followed by pinpricks on the scalp, constriction in the esophagus or hiatal hernia, fall heartbeat that occurs on the back opposite the heart or on the head, electrical like buzz in the groin and on the hips, artificial heating of the body, acute pain on hands and feet. In the latter, attackers like to concentrate on the callous part of the sole, usually the part near the smallest toe. Numbness and rigidness of the feet, including the toes. The attackers can cause what appears to be neuropathy by reducing the circulation in the toes and the feet. Neuropathy causes the victim to be unsteady on his feet and reduces the ability to get around. Unnatural plucking of the lips, usually the upper lip. Nasal drip, tingling in the calves of the legs. Unnatural pulsing of the calves of the legs. So I'm going to stop here. Right now I am on page 8. And we're a little bit 20 minutes in. So if you'd like me to continue reading some of this, please hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there. We're on page 8. The next heading, just as an FYI, is neurological targeting effects. So anyway, this article, or this soliloquy, this huge PDF, 68 pages, called Auditory Targets, a Study of Synthetic Telepathy, or V2K, an aspect of remote electronic targeting, is written by Max Harrison Williams, April 2021. So I'm going to sign off for now. I hope everybody's having a good early morning.